Welcome to the session of International Business, and today we'll do General Business Environment under National and Foreign Business Environment. General Business Environment. What is that? The general environment of an organization is made up of certain vital components such as economic, technological, social, demographic, political, and legal and global forces. These have positive, neutral, and negative influences on the business. So, these are actually macro level indicators or influences which we will see in depth. What are these? Economic environment, technological, social, demographic, political and legal, and global environment. So it is the macroeconomic indicators that the strategist is to study as they have bearing on his decisions. These indicators shape the economic health and well-being of the economy. These are the determinants of firms' ability to earn profits and generate wealth. It is wealth maximization that is more important because it means maximization of profits and flowing them back into investments that generate further income. The components of economic environment are one, general economic conditions. What are general economic conditions that prevail in an economy and are the determinants of economic propensity and prosperity and the well-being of the community. Now, these economic conditions are amount of with which we measure the wellness. What are that? These are national income, per capita income. Better the per capita income, better the economy is. Better the national income, better off the economy is. The economic resources it has, the distribution of income and wealth. So, better distribution of income and wealth means that there is less difference in rich and poor. So, economic development are the variables that make or mar the economic propensity of the people. The income and its distribution determine the business prospects and hence business strategies. In an economy where it is low and the per capita income is comparatively low, results in a poor demand. This pessimistic situation does not attract the business people to invest and carry on the manufacturing and marketing activities. So, in a poor country, people would not like to set up their business from outside because they know that they do not have purchasing power. India, being a developing country, has got largest middle class and hence the purchasing power. On the other hand, in case of those economies where the income of the economy is rising and that leads to more and more investments and entering into industrial and marketing activities. Like I told you, in India, the backbone of Indian economy is finding its income rising and ready to invest in the businesses. Economic systems. So, an economy is what? It is an arrangement that encourages generation of income, its distribution by use of resources at its disposal based on some accepted economic philosophy. The economies all over the world are broadly wedded to capitalistic, socialistic, and communistic as pure breeds of hybrid economies called as mixed economy. India is the best example of mixed economy. Why? Because we have the benefits of capitalism and socialism and are brought under the focus, thus doing away with the demerits of pure socialism and capitalism. Right? So, what does capitalism does? The capitalism grants the maximum economic freedom in managing economic activities, and socialism speaks of utmost control by the state, and mixed economy has the freedom as well as state's role where both public and private sectors coexist supporting each other. Now the fall of mighty nation that was formed at the beginning of 20th century had to kick the bucket over a period of 100 years. Today USSR is divided into small countries, which was one of the greatest power of the world, wedded to socialistic ideology. So socialism has its own problems, capitalism has its own problems. We, being a mixed economy, can reap the benefits of both and can avoid the disadvantages of both. Then economic policies. It is the apt and timely economic policies taken and implemented by the government that decides the fortunes of the country and the citizens. Let's think of India before 1991, before liberalization, and what it is now. If we compare that, Indian economy has been on the verge of collapse, where foreign reserves were just sufficient to pull on another 8 days. That's it. So it was the change in personality as the political leader and the brains behind who together liberated India from control Raj and opened up the Indian economy to the whole world. Otherwise, we would have died our own death. The private sector and public sector undertakings, which were working under the shade of protection umbrella, were to get up and face the challenge of changing competition. Indian players to become global players, failing which foreign companies could take their place today. So today we have Made in India. It is as important as Made in Japan or Made in China or Made in USA. So it has got its patriotism attached, it has got its practicality attached, and it is the need of the hour as well. So the economic policies, they can make or break a country. Next is economic growth. Economic growth or development is the rise and sustaining per capita income of every individual who is the member of the economy. It is economic growth rate that speaks of increased consumption expenditures, lowering of pressure in the industrial field that offers more opportunities and makes the firms to withstand the rigors of threats. Other way round, it is also true. Why? Because lower income growth, reduced consumption expenditure, and that would build up the pressure and will lower down the profitability eventually. So economic growth is required to to develop for an economy. So the more the opportunities, more the firms are making use of it, the better your economic growth is, right? And vice versa. So lesser opportunities, lesser economic growth, lesser consumption expenditure, and it's a vicious circle. Interest rates. So the interest rates, they influence the demand for goods and services in the economy when the goods and services are bought through borrowed funds. Now, if you presume that the rate of interest is low, what will happen? The rate of interest is low. People are not enticed enough to put their money in the banks, and hence there would be increased demand for the products, be it consumer durables or non durables. Now, this is going to give spur to the industries to grow. Opposite would be true when the rates are high. If the rates are high, what will happen? People would like to keep their money invested so that they can reap high returns. Because of that, the demand for products will decrease. For that, RBI has come out with lowest rate of interest to boost the demand for consumer durables and non-durables. And this is going to take Indian economy out of the rut of pessimism and sorrows. Also, the cost of capital is also dependent on interest rates. The companies, when they are getting capital at lowest rates, it would be boosting those for all the companies to have ambitious plans and strategies in case of borrowed funds. Vice versa, if the cost of capital is high, they would not like to invest much, and there would be very pessimistic plans and strategies or conservative plans and strategies that would come in the business. Exchange rates. Exchange rates stands for currency conversion into any other currency. So from rupee, how many rupees are equal to 1 US dollar? How many yen are equal to 1 rupee? So this is what is currency exchange rate. It may be hard or soft. In 1991, Indian rupee was devaluated to make Indian products cheaper in the world market so as to boost India's exports. That was the golden opportunity for all Indian exporters to export more goods and reserves and earn foreign exchange. Today, foreign exchange reserves are 200 billion rupees at an all time high, boosting the quality production at the least cost. So, exporters of India will do so only when they understand and implement three strategies with regard to cost of exports, quality of exports, and quantity of exports on the regular basis. So, they have to see that cost of exports is how much, it is not too high, quality of exports is very good, quantity of exports is less. Now thus it is the exchange rate that decides the destiny of a country. So exchange rate is something like your income of a household, and exchange rate is that to a country. So if you have purchasing power, that you can purchase other things from other countries, it is the exchange rate through which you can do that, right? So it is very important part of the country's economic condition. Second is, after economic environment, technological environment. So rapid developments in technology exert a powerful influence on all the organizations and not just on the operating, those who are operating in a high-tech environment, like microprocessor manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, fiber optic technology, and so on. The combined impact of computer, digital technology, telecommunications, they affect most of private and public sector undertakings. As rightly called by none other than Mr. J. Schumpeter, a perennial gate of creative destruction. Change of technology is both creative and a destructive process, in that it is responsible for building new by destroying the old. So once you the old thing becomes obsolete and the new takes its place, you destroy the old and you create new. Thus the heart of any progress is destruction. Every progress is backed by a destruction. It means that destruction and construction are not conflicting but actually a side of two sides of a coin. They are complementary, providing opportunities and threats available. In the age of fast changing technology, the secret of success is triangular strategy. That is, the managers to anticipate, innovate, and excel to have successful survival. What is their triangular strategy? Anticipate. So you anticipate the change. According to that, you innovate your product, and then eventually you excel to have a successful survival. Next is social environment. Social environment stands for socio-cultural environment. Socio-cultural environment consists of value system and accordingly the society's attitudes, beliefs, desires, expectations, aspirations, habits, customs that are changed and that generate good many opportunities and threats to the business which operates for and part of society. Now, this socio-cultural environment covers aspects of society and its constituents. Social environment of business. For a business house, what that means, expectation of society from the business community, attitudes of society towards business and management, view towards achievement of work, outlook towards the authority structure, responsibility, and organizational positions, views towards customs, traditions, and conventions, classic structure and labor mobility, and the level of education. How much is the level of education? How much is the business community's expectation, society's expectation to the business community that they would give a hand in economic growth? What is their attitude towards business and management? If they welcome the business or they do not like that other people come and do business in their community? View towards achievement of work, what kind of view they have regarding if somebody achieves in some work, is it motivated, it is welcomed, it is appreciated, or people feel jealous about it, people feel competitive about it, and they start doing something wrong for you? So what is that attitude? Now, outlook towards the authority structure, responsibility, and a flat structure is required or a vertical structure is required. How people like to work in a equal environment, or they look forward to promotion every time, and hence it would become a vertical environment. They, what are their views, customs, traditions, and conventions, right? So all these things are the social environment of a business. Then socio-cultural environment factors. So the socio-cultural environment factors influence the organization in three ways. The first is organizational objective setting, organizational processes, and products and services to be offered by the organization. The change that takes place in society caused by change in the value system, and that is accepted as right for the members of the society. Thus, what a particular age group is to wear, eat, entertain are decided by their cultural values. Today, everyone is aware of a particular lifestyle based on the social norms. The philosophy of life is short, enjoy it at any cost. That is why more and more people are thinking of traveling to far off places. Now we see everyone is doing foreign trips before COVID. Another thing is to get rich by easy money and windfalls. Now, this has encouraged the community to resort to lotteries, horse races, betting, gambling, and so on. Now, this has also resulted in antisocial activities as well. Now, this extra care and caution has made them to go in for mineral water, preventive medicines, preventive health checkups, change in food habits. This high cholesterol is the main cause of coronary ailments. That is why the people are going in for double or triple refined edible oils. That too, quantity of consumption has been considerably reduced. Nobody likes to eat fried food a lot these days. We want to eat green veggies, fruits, and good proteins in our diet, and avoiding red meat and going in for white meat like chicken and fish from beef, mutton, pork, and so on, because they're high in cholesterol. So, social awareness has been ever increasing. The social problems are given prominence, like pollution, social responsibility of business house, worker safety, welfare. Now, the social demands are increasing that are cast on business community as social responsibility. Now, this has affected what the business house is to produce, what processes are to be employed, how the products are to be packed, and so on. All these are the questions. The consumerism, which is in full force, has been responsible for enactment of MRTP, Monopolies, Restrictive and Trade Practices Act, Consumer Protection Act. Consumerism has made impact on technology, product quality, market standards and efforts, standards of after sale services. All this means that the business community has to produce and market the products and services as decided by the socio-cultural values. Demographic environment is the next. Demographic features deal with population such as size, birth rate, growth rate, age composition, and family size, level of education, language, caste, income level, earners, number of non earners in a family, number of people who are dependent in the family. So the demand for goods and services is dependent on the demand for them, and the demand is potential or actual market, and market means actual and potential consumers. Now there is a positive relationship between the growth of population and the demand for goods and services. Any decline in the birth rate is having direct or indirect impact on goods and services meant for infants. In case the population consists of more aged than youngsters, these will be more demand, there will be more demand for preventive and curative medical services, medicines, walking sticks, hair color, and so on. In case we have more of youngsters, there is demand for all sorts of convenience goods like specialty goods and shopping goods based on consumer segments like and dislikes, style movement, fashion, and their part time or full time earnings. Now, these population changes present good many opportunities and pose equally challenging threats. Availability of cheap labor, which is skilled, and increased demand for consumer goods and services may result in multinationals investing in new lines of activities. The consumers from different nations may like the goods made in India, where Indian companies have cost advantage. They may attract foreign investment that would lead to optimum utilization of resources of the country, as well as will increase the exports and imports. Now, one cannot underestimate the changes in population in various dimensions that provides good opportunities with threats in the same trail. It is up to the business houses to form strategies for success and implement them to encash these opportunities by handling the threats effectively. Next is political and legal environment. Political and legal environment is rightly called as regulatory environment. Governments of the nation, states, and local area play a constructive role as the custodian of citizens. To protect and promote the interest of citizens, they resort to regulatory activities, which can be done through constitutional provisions, government policies, and industrial laws. Now, speaking of constitutional provisions in India, Indian Constitution was passed by the Constituent Assembly in 1949. The constitutional provisions lay down the guidelines for central and state government to administer socio-economic policies and to regulate them. The constitutional provisions are divided into fundamental rights and directive principles. The fundamental rights are covered in Articles 15, 16, 19, 23, and 24. Article 15 prohibits discrimination against any citizen on the ground of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Article 16 speaks of equality of opportunity to all citizens in public employment, save provision of reservations by the state. What are the guidelines for government and business houses? So, generally, it is for the promotion of people's welfare, minimizing inequality of income, and the elimination of inequalities of status, facilities, and opportunities of citizens. Securing adequate means of livelihood of citizens, equality of pay for equal work for both men and women, provision of just and human working conditions and maternity relief as well, securing a wage and working conditions to provide decent living standards, the workers' participation in management, proper distribution of ownership and control of natural resources to prevent concentration of wealth with a few and instead serve the common goods of community. There are four types of government roles we can talk about. So these are based on industrial revolution. Resolution embodies a policy of government, and power government policies are both positive and negative in approach. The policy framing and implementation grants four kind of roles, namely regulatory, promotional, entrepreneurial, and planners. The regulatory role. The restriction of private participation in areas like defense industries or atomic energy, controlling capacity and location of plants. Now, putting ceilings on expenses, floor limit of wage, that is, minimum wages required, bonuses paid, provisions of statutory welfare measures, ESI, regulation in terms of equal participation in foreign investment, corporate tax, professional tax, tax on entertainment expenses, and the likes, export and import rules, customs duties, tariffs, and so on. What are the promotional roles? The development of infrastructure for industrial and commercial activities like building up roads, industrial estates, communication facilities, and electricity, or assistance like grants. So, university grants, commission is of the government, investment subsidies, tax concessions, tax holidays, specialized economic zones, creation of those, subsidized water or electricity charges. So we have subsidized water and electricity charges for certain people in Delhi also. So providing fiscal and monetary incentives, that is the promotional role of government. Then entrepreneurial role. So participation in business and industry where private participation is not adequate, that is electric generation and distribution. So there the government will enter, or in railways, just after independence, because railways has a huge gestation period. So government sector came in, that was an entrepreneurial role. Then ownership and management of reserved industries like defense, atomic energy, oil and gas. And then managing public sector industries like ONGC, Indian Oil. So they have been, slowly privatized. The planning role. So who makes the 5 year plans? The government. Prioritization of industries. Which industries to be given priority, that's a planning role. Foreign participation in bilateral agreements with other states or countries, greenfield area development plans, or the green revolution, bringing of green revolution, white revolution was concerned with milk. All these are under the planning roles. Regional development plans and programs, turning your focus to industrial laws. Good many laws have been passed from time to time to regulate the industrial and commercial activities, protection of interests of employees. Then we come to global environment. Global or international environment is of a particular importance when there has been powerful say of globalization. The changes in global environment create a set of opportunities and threats to the firm's domestic and international share. Thus, the fall of state communism in Eastern Europe generated enormous growth opportunities for the multinationals of USA, of Western Europe countries, and the rising Asian tigers, some Asian countries like China, India, and all. And the removal of trade barriers in 1992 between community members and European community provided them the opportunity for free trade. The euro dollar case, in as a new currency in 1999, that actually granted so many opportunities as well as threats for different currencies of the member countries, and hence UK drifted away later. In 1991, Indian government announced New Indian policy to cater to the needs of liberalization and globalization of the Indian economy. Now, this meant a thorough overhauling of monetary and fiscal policies of government, so taxation policies and other policies, under the umbrella of which that led to dismantling of artificial trade barriers, dismissing the license and control Raj. So actually, what did government do? Government laxed and relaxed the regulations, uh, just to globalize. So it privatized, it actually liberalized and globalized. So LPG came in 1991, liberalization, privatization and globalization, so that companies economy could boost itself. The bold policy initiatives were in the areas of industrial licensing, foreign investment, foreign technology agreements, changes in Monopolies and Restrictive Trade Practices Act, public sector reforms, promotion of small scale industries, trade policy reforms, etc. Now, the globalization crisis affected the worldwide events. The oil crisis of 1980s, formation of European Union and other economic groups, dismantling of USSR, economic recession. So these all this strengthened the hold of multinational companies and transnational companies. As a result, new strategic concepts cannot light like international value chain, networking, relationship marketing, and so on. As the managers of today are global players, they should also analyze the international environment both in focus and from a distance. Industry environment. An industry in the group of firms manufacturing goods or rendering services of identical products. Thus, steel industry, we mean all those units engaged in producing steel or iron and steel products, right? Similarly, we can talk of automobile industry. Here, what we mean in a specific context, say, let's say automobile industry has four wheelers or it's a two wheeler industry. What is it? But one can include two wheelers, three wheelers, six wheelers, eight wheelers. Even when we speak of it, it consists of scotties or mopeds, scooters, motorcycles, battery operated two wheelers. So it is matter of convenience which is taken as a base for calculating costs and prices and so on. And hence each unit in the industry is a competitor for other. The industry environment has its constituents. What are those? Competitors, customers, suppliers, and substitutes. That is a micro environment. Each has a competing force. Perhaps the best model of competition in industry environment has been developed by Michael Porter, who is considered as guru of strategies. So Michael Porter's five forces model, we study competitors, customers, suppliers, substitutes, and product, right? So that is the industry environment every industry work in, right? So we cannot really ignore it. So with that, we have discussed, uh, all kind of environment what a business or a business environment a company can find itself in. And in the next slide, we would be discussing the foreign environment. Here are the references. Thank you so much for listening.